I think we can all agree on this. I think word of mouth is by far the most important message carrier or conduit that we have. In fact, the latest statistics prove that 70% of new business tends to be through word of mouth. The kind of thing that we're going to be looking at tonight is how do we use that? Because we could go outside and we can just shout to anybody that's walking past. And to be honest with you, that's what a lot of networking does seem to be, as far as I'm concerned. When I go along to networking events, and I belong to quite a few networking organisations and events people, and I've just recently joined a club, although I'm not very keen on clubs. I'm a bit like Groucho Marx, so I haven't joined one that would have me as a member. I prefer that sort of freedom bit, but I've been persuaded to join this club, and I'm going to do it for a short while. It's unbelievable, the response that you are observing, because the vast majority of them seem to work on the law of averages. And they work on the basis of the fact, well, of course, the more people I meet, the better chance I've got of being able to sell them something. So what I want to try and do tonight is try to dismiss a few myths, try to get you to think about your role in networking, try to get you to think about what you want to get out of networking. And I'm really going to throw I suppose a curveball at you to start with, and that is to ask you a question which I don't really want an answer to, because I don't think you'll be able to give me the answer, but I want you to think about it, because people don't. And the question really I want you to think about is, do you honestly, when you put your hand on your heart, can you honestly know what your return on investment is when you do a networking event? Can you honestly say, yes, I definitely know what my network return on investment is? And that could be financially, it could be the numbers game, it could be whatever it is. So what I'm going to get you to think about tonight is the stages involved with networking. We'll think about what to do before, we'll think about what to do during, and we'll think about what to do after. So one of the key things I'm really talking about is planning, and that's one of the areas that we will be looking at. So what is networking? Well, we're doing networking all the time. You've just been doing networking. Networking is something that we are doing continually. We can do it well, we can do it badly, or we can do it without really thinking. But whatever way we do it, we are building connections, we're building relationships, and in some cases we're building friendships. Years ago when we used to do this, we still did networking, we just didn't call it networking. Because the 1980s have changed and all that. When Mrs. Thatcher came to power in particular, she encouraged us all to be considered self-employed. She put the responsibility on individual shoulders. And nowadays, of course, no longer can we depend on job security, no longer can we really depend on others to create our wealth. We're now living in a world of uncertainty, mass redundancy and downsizing. And therefore that's created a real culture of self-employment, but it's created a culture of enterprise, meaning the fact that we have to roll our sleeves up now and get out there and do it ourselves. But of course everybody else is. No longer are we saying, well, there's only us doing it. Everybody else is doing it. And of course the internet is bringing us closer and closer together. So we've got to ask ourselves the question, where does networking fit into all this? Now over the years, of course, networking has been called many things. And if you watch Alan Sugar, you'll hear the phrase schmoozing. He's not a fan of the word schmoozing, even though it's a Yiddish word. Schmoozing, all that means is chatting. We sometimes refer to it as hobnobbing. We'll say that we hobnob, which comes from the Old English habnab, which means to give or take. Some of us amongst us may have called it something that we've always called it, and that's leaning on a bar. It doesn't matter what you call it. Networking is networking, in whatever context. So what we've got to decide is, well, what do we actually mean by networking? We hear this word bandied around all over the place. So tonight we're going to explore what we mean by networking, how we can actually do it better. What you're not going to get, if you've been on some of these big mass courses where you've got this sort of clown running around saying, well, this is how to really only network with people that they like. So how do we become likeable? Well, we become likeable by becoming personable, by not antagonising people. And with sharing, networking is all about reciprocation. It's all about, I can help you with that, rather than, this is what I do. I don't know what you're like, but when I go to networking events, I'm just irritated completely by people just standing up and telling me what they do. It's interesting for a couple of seconds, but, you know, is that really what you're spending all that money? I've seen networking clubs advertised this very week that charge £50 a month just to stand up and tell people what you do. I think I could probably spend that money a little bit more wisely than doing that. You see, because networking and business can only come from secondary contacts. It's rarely going to come from a primary contact, just what I'm looking for. That's rarely going to happen. What will happen is if you learn to share, you will get it right. What goes round comes round, what comes round goes round every single time. I know a man who can, or a woman who can. If you introduce me to X, I'll introduce you to Y, which is why you gravitate to somebody that you know and then say, do you know anybody else in this room that I don't know? So you'll always use somebody else to link you with somebody else. You'll be familiar with the phrase 6 degrees of separation. If not, I'm going to talk about it now. How many people here have heard of 6 degrees of separation? It's a fairly common thing. I think they've got it down to 4, actually, I heard on the radio the other day, but we'll stick with 6. And the concept of 6 degrees of separation is the fact that they did an experiment a few years ago in America where they tried to get this parcel from East Coast to West Coast. And they were wondering, at university, they wondered how long it would take to physically, rather than putting it, and yet we really don't use it to that advantage. What you're going to be doing is listening not just for the words that are coming out, but you've got to be hearing the emotions behind those words, what they're really saying, the meanings, the emotion behind it. So how do you do that? Well, you've already started to do it earlier on with an exercise that we did on asking questions, talking to people. The only way that you can find out. So asking the right type of questions is the key to finding out. But you've got to ask the right type of questions. There's 2 types of questions particularly that we're familiar with. There are more, but we'll stick with the 2. The first one is the open-ended questions. And open-ended questions, as you well know, start with 5 fat people sat on the rugby post. In other words, the 5 W's and the H. So you've got the who. So who are you then? You've got the what. So what is it that you do? You've got the where. So where do you do that? You've got the when. Is it full-time? You've got the why. Well, why are you here? And you've got the how. How do you usually find what you're looking for? So if you've got those 5 W's and the H, that will lead you into all sorts of things. Because what that does, it gets them to talk about their favourite subject. What's their favourite to be involved? So think, how do I come across to other people? What's my tone like? And pace. If I come across too fast because I'm really, really nervous and I've only got 5 minutes to do this in, because I've just been told that I'm on a deadline, all that happens is the fact that I have no idea what you're talking about. And to be honest with you, you're really now starting to irritate and annoy me. Too fast comes across as really aggressive. Because too slow comes across as condescending and patronising. And I'm not a 4-year-old, I'm not a child, I'm not an idiot. So you've got to get that pace right. On average, we speak around about 120 words per minute. So you've got to balance that between saying enough, of the right length, of the right type. And when I mean right length, don't use long words. Use short words. What's a short word? Nothing longer than scarecrow or wheelbarrow. They're the longest words that you should have in your vocabulary when you're networking. What's a short sentence? 16 words or less.